Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Unity Hour. It's a series designed to keep us moving together while we're apart because, yes, we are still apart. My name is Hiba Abdullahi. I'm the social media manager here at the Mom Project. Katie, who is back, I'm so excited that she's back. She is womaning the YouTube chat and welcoming all of you to attending live today. I also have Tiffany here, who's my backup in case anything happens, because we know with technology, things really happen. As a reminder, this entire session will be recorded and can be accessed via the YouTube channel. You'll also receive an email with the link and follow-up items if you RSVP'd to the session. So we got you covered because we know things do come up. We're just really thrilled to have you guys here again with us for another week. Unity is increasingly important as we just continue to navigate these challenges with just everything going on. The only constant is change, and we're grateful for your participation and acknowledge showing up and making an ambitious effort. The Mom Project was founded to build a better workplace for the future for moms, for everyone. And a big part of this mission is the powerful community that has formed around this purpose. And each of you play an important role in that. Today's topic is a real big one. It's about becoming a strong self-advocate. I know we've all been in situations where we needed to negotiate for ourselves, whether it's at home with a partner, at work, with friends, or wherever situations come up where you need to become like a better advocate for yourself. So we've called in the experts. I'm really excited to introduce you to this amazing panel of women. Without further ado, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Lacey Garcia, who is the CEO and founder of Willow, a platform designed to financially empower women throughout their life journey, including divorce, retirement, and so much more. Sheila Walsh, who is the GM of financial coaching for Willow. She's a certified financial planner, professional, and she's passionate about helping women understand how to unlock their capacity for an abundant life. Carol Terrell, who is also a financial coach and credit consultant who operates an online financial resource hub where she aims to create wealth with options. She's also a fellow Chicagoan like myself. And Therese Nichols, who is a certified financial planner and money coach. She empowers women with smart money strategies to help them get from where they are and to get them where they want to be with ease. So I'm going to throw it over to Lacey. Get us into the topic.
Hiba, thank you so much. And Tiffany, and thank you to the Mom Project. We are really delighted to be here today. We believe so strongly in your mission and the work that you're doing. And we are thrilled to get a chance to connect with everybody who's on this Unity Hour with us, and look forward to having hopefully a very enriching and rewarding conversation. So it's my pleasure to welcome you officially to becoming a strong advocate, self-advocate, and learning how to get what you want. So I'm Lacey Garcia, and I'm the founder and CEO of Willow. And as Hiba did a great job of explaining who we are, but we are a virtual financial coaching and technology platform, and we're focused on financially empowering women. And how we do that is by bringing together technology and real human relationships, personalized guidance from these amazing coaches that you'll hear from today to help women navigate our life journeys. Because, even though we'd like to have money be separate from our life, it's completely intertwined. And our overall health and wellness is so tied into our financial health. And we provide education, inspiration, and help to match women with a financial coach or a financial advisor who is uniquely equipped to understand not just what they need from a financial perspective, but who's maybe walked the same life journey and experienced the same things and can connect, for instance, as a mom. So I founded Willow because despite the fact that I was in financial services and I was a private banker, when it came to my own personal life, I struggled. I had a really hard time finding an advisor that, wouldn't just give good advice, but that I could connect with and would help me to become confident and secure, who I could let down my guard and sort of ask the stupid questions, right? And I had such a hard time. It was really difficult. And I didn't want other women to struggle the way that I did. I ended up connecting with a life and then a financial coach who really made a huge difference as I went through many things in my life, including navigating multiple career transitions, starting a business, but, a very difficult divorce, and being a being a single full-time working mom who's also trying to co-parent, and COVID and remote learning and all these things that we navigate, which are so challenging. And the thing is, we feel so alone, but there's others, many of us, who've been through similar experiences, and what you're doing and bringing us all together is so important, because we can learn from one another. We're open, we're honest, and we ask for help. We can do that. And that's at the heart of becoming your own self-advocate. And one thing I just want to share is, we were asked why we named the company Willow. We chose Willow because a willow tree is, one of the strongest and the most resilient trees. It's actually able to, completely bend without breaking. And it's also graceful and feminine, like the women that we work with, like the women that we serve. And, we believe in helping women to become strong so that they can stand tall like a willow tree against the changing winds, which are obviously coming at us from every direction right now. But we can do that with grace and strength, and be adaptable and be flexible. So have a strong foundation in our financial plan, in our own kind of health and wellness, but be able to bend and be able to be flexible. So we're going to talk today about how to become your own self-advocate, which is a lifelong journey in itself. And I've got to say, I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about, being on an airplane, which I haven't been on an airplane now since March. But the announcement about putting on the mask on yourself before you put it on your child. When I was younger, I always had it, before I became a mom, I had a really hard time with that statement. I was like, how could a mom put on the mask on herself before she put it on her child? Who could do that? And I have to tell you, now that I'm a mother, I understand that. Now that I've been through some really hard things in my life, I understand that if we don't take care of ourselves, we don't advocate for ourselves, we're not strong. We can't be there for our children. We can't be there for the people that we love. We can't be there for the people who work for us. So we need to learn how to do that. And we need to do that by working together, and by helping and by supporting one another. So it's so important that we work together as a community to become stronger. And it's okay to be vulnerable. Vulnerability equals strength. Raising your hand, asking for help, getting the right advice, the right guidance is where you need to start. And that's actually what leads you to strength. So at Willow, we focus specifically on financially empowering, but through conversations around what's really going on in your life, what your real goals are, what you're trying to achieve, what are the challenges that you're dealing with. I mean, are you struggling with trying to keep your career going while you're remote learning your children? Are you going through a difficult divorce? Are you considering getting a divorce? Were you recently widowed? Are you trying to buy a new home and make that decision in all this uncertainty right now? But we help women to start there by matching you with the right coach. And so one of the things we want to do is, following this webinar, we'd like to give you all a special offer from Willow to everyone who's attended this day, to work with a financial coach. And financial coaches will help you with areas such as managing spending plans while balancing savings, investing, creating financial resiliency, facilitating family conversations, and debt management. And we also match women with financial advisors if they're looking for specific help around investments, and we can make that connection as well. So now it's my pleasure and a great honor to introduce Sheila Walsh, who's our GM of Financial Coaching, and our other incredible Willow coaches, Carol Terrell, who is based in Chicago, as you mentioned, and Therese Nicholas, who's based in Boston. But the great thing is today, we can connect. We can all be in each other's living room, in each other's family rooms, in each other's office right now, because we're connected virtually. So it doesn't really matter where we are, we're all together. So thank you. Sheila, over to you.
Thank you, Lacey, and thank you so much, Heba and Tiffany and everyone, for being here. It's great to be here. There's so much that we can't do right now. So to have the opportunity to connect and be in the presence of so many amazing, motivated women, it's really special. Learning to be a strong self-advocate in any life situation holds the key to your future happiness and how you can bring your strengths into the world. There's no doubt this is a challenging time. Things are completely different than we thought they would be. We're redefining so much in our life right now. School is outside under tents, in pods, online, And today we're going to talk about redefining how we think about negotiation. Sometimes when people hear the words personal finance, they think Wall Street and spreadsheets. And if they hear negotiations, they think power suits and poker faces. But it doesn't have to be this way. Your journey is about what's important to you, your goals, and what you value. Let's start with a question for the audience. Who is the number one person that you negotiate with? Put it in the chat. Let's see what folks are saying. The number one person that you negotiate with. Now, even though we don't all know each other, I think I might know the answer. Hiba, let's hear a couple of them.
I'm looking, I don't see anything yet. Some people are saying my kids are the number one people I negotiate with. Who else? Yeah, my 5-year-old, family, toddler. Oh, myself, my husband. A lot of children, though. A lot of people are negotiating with their kids.
Yeah, it's true. But I do think that the number one person we all negotiate with is ourselves. It's you. And quick story, I remember when I was in high school, I really wanted to be a rower. I wanted to be on a crew team, but my high school didn't have a crew team, which is no boats, no water. And because I wasn't part of a team already going into college, I learned quickly that I would have to stand up for myself and advocate for myself to make it there. So I did. I researched rowing programs. I talked to coaches. I talked to athletes. I signed up for a summer camp, and I figured out it was going to take a lot of hard work to get to the program that I wanted to. These rosters were full of young women who had so much more experience than me. However, it was through coaching and hard work and perseverance that I made the team. And I can tell you with 100% certainty today that if I didn't make that commitment to advocate for myself, my life would be totally different. The things I learned about advocacy and mental toughness are still ones that I draw on today. I learned to push myself, and I've carried this experience in every single chapter of my life and my career ever since. So this afternoon, we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do to become a stronger self-advocate. So we'll start with a framework to guide you during negotiations and any difficult conversation that you have. We'll discuss how to be your authentic self, how to get to know your money mindset, and advocate for yourself in real life situations. And we're going to wrap up with some steps about how you can commit to your journey ahead. The first P of our 3P framework of self-advocacy is pause. Without taking a pause to identify what's most important to you, we have a tendency to look to external factors to help us make a choice. But does it matter if a colleague negotiated more vacation days, if what you really want is a flexible work schedule to spend time with your children? The second P is prepare. Once you know what you want, you can prepare to get it. In negotiations, there are often multiple outcomes that are possible, and there's usually a curveball or two in the process. That's why we encourage you to prepare. Write down your questions, do your research, ask yourself what it's going to take so that you never find yourself saying those words, I wish that I had. The final P of the framework is practice. I get it. We don't talk about money that much. In fact, many women dread conversations about money. Yet with practice, you will get more comfortable. And I want to remind you, as a mother, you've been practicing those negotiations about screen time and eating vegetables. I think those probably sound familiar. And you know what it means to be an advocate for others. You stand up for your children. You stand up for their best interests every day, and you can apply those principles to yourself. And when you become a stronger self-advocate, and when you engage in those taboo discussions, you're advancing advocacy for all women. When we shrink back, we suffer. Our families, our career, our bank accounts are all impacted. Yet when you stand up for yourself, you're giving everyone around you the opportunity to get the full you, the woman who's giving it her all. So now I'm going to turn this over to Willow financial coach Carol Terrell, whose story is really an inspirational one about how to be a self-advocate. And as a coach, Carol now guides her many clients to become better stewards of their finances. Carol.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carol Terrell. And again, I just want to thank Heba, Tiffany, the Mom Project for having Willow and his coaches on to talk about something that's very needed on today. It's a very important topic, especially as moms, and more importantly, also as single moms. I'm a single mother, and my story pretty much goes back to being able to advocate, but then advocate for myself and then falling kind of off that wheel and becoming homeless twice and then having to re-pick up from there. And basically what I'll just like say to you guys is the best thing that I found myself doing is showing up for me. Like I literally had to say, hey, look in the mirror, because as moms, when we have kids, we start gaining weight, you're not looking the same, you're tired, you're running around. And the worst thing that we can do is we're putting self-pity, like we're self-pitying ourselves, we're doubting ourselves. And when we do that, we take away the power, that the God-given power that has been given to us as women, as nurturers, as the mothers that advocate for your kids. And when we kind of just start beating up on ourselves and walking in other people's shoes, you want to, hey, this person looks like that, or this person is like that. We kind of start saying, hey, that's who I want to be. But those shoes are not fit for you. Like, that's not the place you belong. So when what I do is I just say, hey, who are you, Carol? When you show up in a room, are you showing up as your authentic self? Not as an imposter, not trying to be what somebody else wants me to be or what they perceive me to be, but owning my own space, where I am on today, right now, not where God is taking me in the future, or, not where I'm going, but right now being okay right where I am, and saying, hey, from there, I'm investing in growing, and not just growing in our successes, like on the jobs and, things like that, growing holistically in yourself, like speaking over yourself, making sure that everything that that's in you, that you are bringing that out. Like, we have to empower our own selves. Like, how can we go in a room and advocate for ourselves if we are actually not even secure with ourselves? Like, we know that we're not secure, then we're going to go in a room and try to advocate for something, and we're not even positive about that thing. So the best thing I just always say to myself, hey, how are you showing up? Are you showing up authentic? Are you showing up humble? Did you prepare? What is the end result? What are the goals here? What are the goals? But also be showing up as not just making it about me, whether it's on a job, whether you're going through a divorce, whether you're negotiating with your kids, it's never just about you. So sometimes when we're advocating for ourselves, we got to make sure that we're also thinking about what we're advocating for and who we're advocating with, to make sure that it's not just about us. If I'm at the job and I'm trying to get a position, increase on a job, I want to make sure that when I'm advocating for myself, that I'm also listening to the person that I'm trying to get that job with, or that increase, and making sure I understand their needs, and that it's a common ground, that I can fit where you want me to be, but also it's not just about me as well. So sometimes, and I know it's a lot of women out here that can agree, we operate in our hearts, and I've learned this too. We always operate in our heart and our emotions, and we just sometimes need to pause, like Sheila said, just pause and just think about the situation, or listen to the conversation, or the person you're communicating with, and not operate out of heart, but listen. Because a lot of times when you listen, the answer is right there. Like, the answer is right there. You're not operating in your heart or your emotions, or what it's about me. This is what I want and this is what I have to have. No, we just have to sometimes slow down. As women, we have to say, no, are you operating in a emotional place? Are you operating in a place of revenge? Like, if we're going, I've been through a divorce, and sometimes when we go through those type of things, and we can agree as women that it hurts us. No one wants to get divorced. No one wants to feel like you put all your life and time into a relationship, and then somebody is wanting to leave you or go somewhere else. But what I do know is when that happens, we get emotional, and then now we have that kind of revenge thing in mind. Oh, you're not getting the kids, you're not getting this, I'm going to do this. And ultimately, when we get in that negotiation place, it never goes well when you're just thinking about you, because you got to remember, if kids are involved, how are you hurting the kids? And then you also got to be mindful about the person who hurt you too. We don't know actually what they're feeling in this process either. So let's go into a place of negotiating where it's beneficial to all parties. It's not just about you. And when you show up in a room humble and with your goal set, but also knowing that I'm not operating in a place of revenge or just about me, you will always win. It's always a win, because people will see that on you. They will say, this person's not coming in like they're the be all, know all, this position is for me. Like, humbly show up in the room and be your authentic self, because your authentic self, nobody else can be Carol. Nobody else can be Lacey. Nobody else can be Heba. Nobody else can do what you do. Nobody else has the talents or the gifts that you have been given. We all are perfectly made in our own way, but own those things that you are given, and be okay with it right now. And also understand that when you're navigating for yourself or self-advocating for yourself, um, all no's do not mean that it's denial. Delay does not mean deny. We have to understand that sometimes the places we're self-advocating or trying to negotiate for ourselves may not be that room or that table that's prepared for you to be in at that time. Be okay with that. Someone else may have been the better fit for it, but it doesn't mean that that you didn't self-advocate for yourself. And then also be okay with, if it doesn't work, if whatever you're negotiating or the goal you set for yourself just does not line up with you. Don't be okay with saying, well, okay, I'm gonna just settle here. Be okay with saying, this is not gonna work. This hey, I'm okay that we couldn't come to a common ground. This is not gonna work. And take a step back and regroup. Sometimes we are in a place where, if you haven't worked in years, you get a little desperate and you will take whatever. Oh, okay, I'll take that salary. But then you're on this job and you're not happy. You're not giving your all, because you only did it because of what was needed at the time, and not what you're looking for long term. Longevity, what's going to be the overall goal for yourself, your family, your house. So always showing up authentic, always showing up knowing exactly what you want, but making sure that when you show up in that room, that you're as humble, but that you are as confident, that you are as confident in yourself about what it is and what you bring to the table. Like, if you know that this, I have all of these skills and I have that, back it up with proof. What did you do here? What did you do there? Those type of things in the in the room, in a divorce room. You want to do the same things. Why is it important for you to have what it is that you're asking for? But make it make sense, but make it also be for both parties, how it can benefit both parties. I always say, successful people invest in their growth, like not just your successful growth, but your overall growth in yourself. Every day we're changing. Something different is going on. Like, are you investing in finding out your weaknesses and your strengths? We know our strengths, but I tap into my weaknesses every day. How can I make this weakness? How can I do a little better in this area? How can I show up a little better in this area for someone else? Because someone else will go through the same struggles that we gone through, and they may reach out to you, right? They may need you to be that listening ear. You want to be able to show up for them, knowing that, hey, that was an area I was weak in, and these are the tools or the strategies. May not work for everybody, but this is what I can suggest. I also say, do understand the sky is not the limit. We all say the sky is the limit. The sky is not the limit for me, and it's not the limit for you guys. I don't set limits on how well I can succeed or how far I can grow. I'm just constantly every day and say, how much more can I grow? How much better can I be? How much of a better steward over my life, my decisions can I be that will go out and reflect in the world? Like, I don't wait for the world to make me happy. I go out and make the world happy every day. It's about me and how I show up, whether it's outside the front of my house, whatever room. How am I showing up, and how am I showing up to the person that I'm speaking to or mentoring or that I'm being interviewed by? Because if you show up just as who you are on today and confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, you will always win because you've already believed in yourself. When you believe in yourself, then others believe in you. The last thing I want to say or really focus on is don't go in a place and downplay your strengths. Always focus on your strengths. Don't present your weaknesses if no one's asking you about your weaknesses. Focus on your strengths, but also don't upplay them to where you over talking about your strengths. You want to just say, hey, these are my strengths. This is what I bring to the table. And again, always be authentic when you do that, because that's how I move. And I'll just use an example. I have a lot of people say, hey, when you walk in a room, you radiate the room. Like my sisters, anybody I talk to, I'm like, what does that mean? They say, you just got, people come from everywhere because I'm coming in the room as me. I'm not trying to fill this person's shoes, that person's shoes. I'm owning where I am on today and all my strengths, even my weaknesses, and confidently empowering that space. And that's pretty much what I have to say. I want to say definitely no more self-pity, ladies, no more self-doubt, no more sabotaging. Because when we start doubting ourselves, we're sabotaging the situation we're going into. We relinquish our own power to show up in a room and be great, to show up in a room to advocate, to show up in a room to advocate with confidence, and that where people say, wow, it's a no-brainer. I need you. Or you just we're here to blow people away. Like literally you have to blow people away. But if you can't stand in a room and look at yourself and blow your own self away, then how can you go in a room and blow someone else away or self-advocate for yourself with power, with authority, but not being selfish, but just saying, this is who I am, this is what I bring to the table, I'm confident in what I have to offer. And I mean, that's pretty much it. That's all. Like, don't be a imposter. Own your beauty, own your greatness, own the space you are in on today, and then worry about tomorrow on tomorrow, worry about next week on next week. But in the process, continue to invest in your growth, your holistic growth, your own self-growth in the process.
Thank you so much, Carol. That was fantastic. And I so appreciate what you said about being authentic, because it's so easy to fall into what I call compare, despair. Imposter syndrome is a real thing. And I think it's why a lot of women shy away from advocating for themselves. So there was some research that was done earlier this year by Randstad. They're a major staffing firm, and they reported the percentage of women who said they never have negotiated a salary ever. And I'm curious to see if anyone has a guess on that one. What percent of women reported that they have never negotiated with an employer over pay?
I'll man the chat for you, but I'm still stuck on Carol's preach over there. Women are literally in the chat saying, yes, Carol, thank you so much. I needed that wisdom today. This lady just came up and suggested, and God must have sent you here because you just literally gave us a word. That was amazing. So on the question, we have one that says 80%, could be 60%, 30%.
It's 60%, and that number is too high. A number is too high. And why? Why is that number so high? You know, I think for some women asking that question, what do I want? That question that Carol said, it's not something that they feel comfortable even asking themselves. And if we're not clear about what we want and why we want it, it's going to be really hard to get that if we are not clear. So wanting something for yourself does not mean that you don't care about others, right? That's what Carol told us. And there's a funny story in the book Money Magic, which is by Michelle Masters. And she talks about how human beings are really the only species on the planet that stress about this. She says, I don't pretend to know what's in the mind of a golden retriever, but I'm pretty sure they've never had this conversation. My human is offering me a cookie. Is it okay for me to have a cookie? Have I had too many cookies? Do all the other dogs in the world have cookies? Will my person think less of me for wanting a cookie? Am I a bad dog to want a cookie? I remember the first time that I heard this, I just laughed out loud because this puppy here is not troubled by self-doubt. They're crystal clear about what they want, and they definitely make their desire known. And the typical response that they get a smile, and they get what they want. They get the cookie. And in fact, if a golden retriever puppy came up to you and didn't stick their nose under your hand or look for attention, you probably think that something was wrong. This is a cute example about a puppy and their nose, though I'm sure as a mom, you know all about telling children to use their words and ask for what they want. So as you pause, as you prepare, as you practice for your negotiation, I encourage you to take specific notice of the language that you're using. How are you talking about yourself? Are you saying, I used to work, but now all I do is take care of my kids? Or are you saying, I'm just a writer? I hope not. Words matter, and so does how you position those words in any negotiation. Now, here are two sentences that communicate the same thing. And I'm wondering, which one would you rather hear from a doctor? I'll tell you, for me, I'll take that second option any day. Words matter. They have power, and how you frame your point in any negotiation matters. Words elicit really strong emotional reactions when we use them. I do remember I had a friend a few years ago who heard me say, oh, I used to know how to row, but now I'm just out of shape. And she stopped me and she said, you used to know? I'm actually one of a handful of women that had no prior rowing experience that ultimately was part of a championship team. Our team won the first NCAA title for our school, and I've taken 1 million strokes and spent countless hours in a boat. And here I was saying, I don't even know how to row. I still do. And I think that it's not uncommon if you downplay your strengths, but we need to change that. It should be common to speak to our strengths and to advocate for who we are. So I'm now going to turn this over to Willow financial coach and certified financial planner, Therese Nicholas. And Terry specializes in working with women who are experiencing a lifestyle shift. So whether that's widowhood or divorce or career change, she's really going to dive into some of the common negotiation scenarios with us. So turn it over to you, Terry.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you to everyone. And of course, this is wonderful knowing I have to follow Carol. You didn't tell me that. But thank you, Hiba, and the Mom Project, and Tiffany and Lacey. It's a pleasure to be here. So when we talk about your money mindset, I'd like to know how many of you out there have even given one speck of thought to the fact that you have a money mindset and how that money mindset translates into where you are today. So if you could put that in the chat, I would appreciate that. And Hiba, if you can watch the chat and let me know what kind of feedback we get on that. So for those of you who have never heard that term or probably think I'm out of my mind, I'm going to just share a little story about what money mindset means and how it shows up in your life and how it can show up in your negotiations. So growing up as a little girl, which was a long time ago. My grandmother, my father's mother, was a huge influence on me. I recently became a grandmother, and she is in the back of my mind every single day because of the influence that she played, the role she played in my life. And one of the things that she did outside of just being unconditional love and that typical warm grandmotherly type person was she would talk about money. And it wasn't talking about money like, sit down, I'm going to teach you how to count nickels or whatever. It was all done in stories, and it was always, always positive. Now, that might not mean a lot to you folks out there, but my grandmother grew up as a young woman raising a family through the Great Depression, like a lot of grandmothers. She also came from Sicily, in a very impoverished part of the country. She knew from when she was a little girl that the only way out, the only way she would ever break through that poverty cycle was to leave. And I cannot imagine what it would be like to get on a ship with a small child that happened to be my father, venturing out for a land unknown, and just have that much confidence and that much faith in yourself that you're going to be better off than what you were leaving. And to have that level of courage kind of goes back to what Carol was talking about. How do you show up? Well, she showed up not only as her authentic self, but very courageous and very confident. My father used to tell the stories about how she would feed the neighborhood. She would literally, people were starving, and she would open her door and she would sit them down, whether it was a piece of pizza or a meatball or whatever it might be. And often, if it wasn't the only meal they had that day, they would tell her it was the best meal that they had that day. She was extremely generous, always had money for charity. And in her mind, if she had a little extra to give to her favorite charity, whether it was her church or it was there was a home for orphaned children, it made her more confident that she could always create more than enough. Now, my grandparents were as blue collar as it gets. My grandfather was a barber, my grandmother was a seamstress, but she had that high level of confidence in herself that she would always be able to create whatever her family needed, and therefore she would have extra that she could always share with somebody who she felt was in a worse situation than she was. So when it came for like negotiating, this was a time when women did not have any kind of authority over anything. And my grandfather was very typical tyrannical male. And yet she knew how to work her way around him. And the way that she did that was she was like a wizard with money. And this was someone with no education. And he had so much faith in her that he entrusted her with the household finances, and she never let him down. It took them 20 years to save to buy a house. I mean, who has that kind of patience? But she did. And he had no qualms about coming in from the barbershop, and everything was cash in those days, handing her the little envelope that he had with the money in it, knowing that she was going to allocate it so that the family would always be well cared for. So for her, her negotiating came from that high level of confidence. And that was something that she used to talk about when I was a child. And it wasn't like, sit down, I'm going to teach you how to do this. It was all done through example and through storytelling. And these were lessons that I carried with me my entire life. In times when I struggled financially, that was what I could fall back on, was what would my grandmother do in this situation? And I would think about her stories and her lessons, and I would apply them. And that helped me in so many ways, but it also inspired me to do the work that I do today, which is why I focus on helping women. When I think about her and her stories, that's why I decided to build a practice around helping other women to get that level of confidence and get that feeling of empowerment, so that no matter what life throws at you, you will land on your own 2 feet, and you will know with confidence, certainty, and clarity that you will be able to maintain your lifestyle, provide for your family, and leave the legacy that you want to leave. So
that, Terry. I want to just tell you that with your question, a lot of women were saying that they never really thought of a money mindset. One of them was, I never had addressed it. One is, I have a practical mindset. Yeah, just a lot of women are saying they never really thought of having a money mindset. So I really love that your story kind of brought that to, like, always think about what would grandma do.
Well, thank you. And one thing that I found very interesting, I've always liked to watch people. I love people and I like to study and observe different things. And it's always been a fascination to me of why is it that some people are just very successful, they seem to have no trouble manifesting whatever it is that they need, and other people are constantly like, going up against the wind. And in my family, when I look at them, my father had 3 siblings. He and his 2 brothers were all in the same profession. They were self-employed. They all had the same business, and they probably all earned about the same amount of money. But they all made different decisions. And that goes back to your money mindset. So 2 of the brothers died in poverty. One of them, who was going to be 90 years old, has had the ability to do everything that he wants to do, and he has an abundant lifestyle. He's not a wealthy man. I'm not talking about like, mega millions or anything like that, but he has the capacity to do whatever it is that he wants to do. So he's able to enjoy his ideal lifestyle. So why you have 3 people grow up in the same household, get the same information from the same people, why is it you have such a disparity around their results? The reason is their mindset, how they view money, how they perceive their abilities, and just their behavior. So our unconscious thoughts that we pick up as children and pick up throughout our life create our behavior, and that creates our results. So if you have the mindset that you never have enough, and that means that your behavior is, I'm spending like crazy and I never have enough, that becomes your reality. You accumulate a lot of debt, and now that just validates your belief that you don't have enough. Where somebody else, like my grandmother, who had the belief that she would always have the ability to create more than enough, that became her reality, that she always created more than enough. And she had no more ability than you and I. She had no more of a skill set. She didn't even have an education. So what did she have that was different? She had a different way. She had a different point of view. She had a different mindset and a different belief system. And that became not only her reality, but it was her truth. So I'm asking you, ladies, when you think about that, think about how you view money, and think about how you view money and how does that show up in your life. And if it shows up exactly the way that you want it, well, pat yourself on the back. That's awesome. But if there is a disparity between where you are and where you want to be, and if you haven't been able to figure out how to get where you want to be by now on your own, then chances are you won't figure that out, and you may need some support. Put your big girl pants on and get the help that you need. It can transform your life in ways that you just can't imagine. But get the help that you need, whether it's through somebody who you know who does things a little better than you do. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. When you find the resource, you want to be in an environment that is a safe place. The environment that I grew up with my grandmother teaching me was a safe place. I could ask any question I wanted. I never felt judged, and I felt unconditional love. Well, maybe feeling unconditional love is maybe a stretch if you're working with another professional, but you probably would at least at a minimum want to feel safe so that you can ask whatever question you want and not feel like they're looking down on you or thinking that you know less than you should be knowing at this time. So are there any questions for me right now regarding how we get there?
I can jump in really quick. Sure. While some of those questions kind of queue up, because I know that there are a few here. So before we do that, I just want to kind of reinforce what Terry said here. You can start small. You know, it doesn't have to be a full change overnight, and even just 1% can make a difference. And I had to put this in here because you can ask any pilot if 1% makes a difference. And I always tell this story when we're talking about contributions to 401ks and retirement funds and things like that. A pilot will tell you it makes a huge difference. Even if you are taking off, say, from LAX and you're flying to New York City, and you're off 3.5 degrees south heading error, you're not going to land in New York. You're going to land in DC. You are going to land hundreds of miles away. And I've seen it so many times helping women with their financial wellness. Small actions, small behavior changes, mindful money habits. They have big impacts. And a few weeks ago, one of our colleagues came to a Willow meeting, and she showed up on Zoom with these cuffs of cardboard that her daughter made for her that had stars all over them, Wonder Woman inspired. And, you know, not only does she rock those cuffs that day, but they've become a symbol for us about how to move forward. We can be Wonder Woman. And it's something that even those act of putting on those cuffs can trigger that mental mindset. Having a trigger to get you in there is really helpful. And as women, I'm so glad that we're here to support each other. And remember, when you ask and when you prioritize your financial wellness, you're normalizing it for all of us. And you're setting a really good example for your children. So hopefully there's now some cues we can answer.
Sheila, did you have any questions on the list of things that you would like to address?
Yeah.
Yes. So I have the questions here,
Okay.
and we could get started. So the first question that we have is, how do you know when it's time to walk away if what you're asking or negotiating for isn't being considered seriously? And I'll leave it up to the group, and any one of you guys can take that one.
How do you walk away? How do you know when it's time to walk away? For me, I've always gone with my gut. And if I feel as though there's just a disconnect, you can have a follow-up question before you just walk away and just ask point blank, go out on the skinny limb, take the risk, you have nothing to lose, and just say to the person, I feel like we're not moving forward. Is there something that I have said, or do you have any questions that I can address for you to help us move the dial? And if all you get is dead air or crickets, then you know it's time to move on.
I might just jump in. That's Terry. Just
Want to go first, Lacey?
Oh, yeah. Just with one quick thing too, is I think that one thing I've learned with age comes some wisdom is that time is on your side too. And walking away is actually a very effective negotiation tactic, creating space and time. And when you feel like you're at the point, or you're getting towards the point, or you see the point of frustration, you withdraw, right? You pause. That's where the pause comes in. And that is, taking a couple deep breaths, sleeping on something. Don't send that email tonight, send it first thing in the morning. Those are all tactics that you can employ that will help you actually to move the conversation into forward and to get what you want. But remember that time's on your side.
And for me, I would say how to know when to walk away is when I always remember the initial goal, the initial expectation that was set. And I actually reevaluate, did I set the expectation too high? Sometimes we set something that's too high and we really don't line up with that. So you go into this room with an expectation again of, hey, this is what I expect. I know for me, I'm never going to negotiate my livelihood or my freedom, whatever that is. I want to be the best me for whatever that situation is, because it's not just about me. So if I know that whatever's being offered is not going to allow me to give the best of me in that situation, is when I know I need to walk away, because I'm not just thinking about myself, but I'm also thinking about whatever I'm negotiating at that moment. Am I showing up for them? Basically showing up. Am I going to show up 100%, or am I just doing it because I need it to happen now? So I know from that, like, it's always make sure that it's not just about you, whatever the situation is, whatever your goal is, but their goal. And are you going to give 100% of you and be happy in that situation, or whatever the decision was, when you say yes to whatever you're going to go, wherever that, thing is, whatever it is you're negotiating on, it has to work on both ends, or nobody's going to be happy. You're going to eventually burn out. You're going to leave, you're going to walk away, you're going to abandon the situation because your initial intent was, hey, I want it so bad, but I didn't stick to the goal, the expectations, what I set for myself, and also what was needed of me.
Perfect. Okay, another question that we had for you ladies is, sometimes self-advocacy is perceived as selfish. Are there key words to use to express ourselves that would clarify the intent?
I'll answer that. So I want them to separate the two. Self-advocacy is not being selfish, but it's how you show up in the room. You're never selfish when you're self-advocating for yourself. But if you're showing up in the room like, hey, really ruthless, or, whatever that is, then you're portraying selfishness. It's all about me. So they're two different things. You can never be selfish or show up selfish when you're self-advocating, but you always want to be humble in the situation when you're advocating for yourself. You don't want to ever come across as the be all know all, I got this in the bag, that type of, when you come in a room like, hey, I got this. You can never come in it. You just have to stay so authentic to who you are, where you are, own what you have to offer in that space, and be humble. Be humble all the time in that space, and be true to yourself. When you're true to yourself, then you're true in that room. You're true in negotiating, and people will appreciate you more.
And I think that, like we were talking about earlier, words really do matter. And so one thing that I've learned about is you can really ask open-ended questions. And when you do that, you're going to learn a lot of information. When you ask yes, no question, the answer is going to be limited. And then you can portray your strengths to help meet the problems that you're going to hear. So tell me about the business for the past 6 months during COVID. You're going to get a wealth of information when someone answers that question. You can also use words like we. What are we going to do here? And that really shows that you're on the same side of the table, and that you're collaborating, and you're not out for yourself, that we're in this together. So use those kind of questions that are open-ended, and that really demonstrates that there's teamwork happening too.
Like they say, there's no I in team.
100%.
And there's no success without you.
Another thing I want to say really, really quickly, all women, all of us, we are so powerful. We are so headstrong. So we have to be mindful that we can own our power, but own it with elegance, with grace.
We had another question. This one, I believe, is specifically to you, Terry. Can you advise on any good books about money mindset, or just like a good direction of like how to start a money mindset?
That's a great question. Thank you. There are books. There's a woman who created what's called the Money Coaching Institute. Her name is Deborah Price, and she's written a number of books. One of them is called Money Therapy, and it is a really good read, and it does address your money mindset issues. If you look up money mindset, or you look up money coaching specifically, you will find good information about how to develop a more positive money mindset. I have a book, if you're interested, I have a free book that I give out, and it does have some exercises in it. If you wanted to submit your contact information in the chat room, I'll be more than happy to email that to you. It's a quick read. It's only 19 pages, even though it took me 3 years to write it, but it has some really good exercises in there and examples that do help shift your money mindset.
Can you give us your email, Terry? That way we could just put it in the chat and whoever wants to reach out. It just might be like a lot of people. So,
Sure.
okay.
Okay, my email is tnicklas, NICKLAS, at wealthcoachforwomen.net.
Perfect. Thank you. And then we had another question. Is COVID impacting our ability to negotiate? We know there's just a lot going on right now with just even job security sometimes. So, do you ladies feel like the pandemic has hindered that? And like, do you have any tips for anybody that's trying to negotiate during this time?
I'd like to answer that one. I do not think the COVID eliminates our ability to negotiate. In fact, I think it makes us more powerful, because if we are showing up, as Carol says, as our authentic self, and I hope you don't mind me stealing your line, Carol. But I think that when you show up and you go before whoever it is that you're trying to negotiate with, let's just assume you're looking for a new job, and you show up with the servant leader heart. You are there to serve. You want to help that business grow. You want to get them from point A to point B, or get them across the finish line. And you can demonstrate to them your flexibility, like Willow's theme of being flexible while being strong. We're not weeping willows, we're willows. And what we want to do is show up in that way that, yes, we're in a difficult situation, but everybody's in this situation. It isn't like it's isolated to like Massachusetts or Chicago or anywhere. It's worldwide. So we're all there. So we are aware of that problem. How do we pivot? And demonstrating your ability to pivot and, juggle a lot of things, and how powerful you are and how resilient you are, I think it's only made you stronger, and it makes you more able to negotiate. Own your strength, own your power, and don't give up on that.
Yeah, I'll just add one quote that I heard once from Oprah, and she said, "You get from life what you have the courage to ask for." And COVID or no COVID, that doesn't change.
That's right.
So I know we're like almost at time, which is crazy, but so many questions. I mean, you ladies are just amazing. The stories, the amount of wisdom that you were able to just give to our community today. We can't even thank you, enough. But if there's one thing that each of you could leave us with today, whether it's just like some kind of ending words on how you feel, just the most important thing that our community could be left with through this presentation, what would it be? And I'll let each of you kind of go, but I just can't say thank you enough. I love these Unity Hours, and I just love hearing amazing women come together and just give that wisdom to each other. I'm like goosebumps, literally. So if you guys could just give us like one parting thing for our community, what would it be?
Well, what I would give is there's a word, grit, Grit. I think we all need to understand the importance of that. The other thing I would leave you with is that clarity is the first step toward financial freedom. And by working with your community, asking questions, leaning on the right people for support, getting help, investing in yourself, you will gain the clarity that will tell you where you are, where it is that you want to be, and what are the steps you need to take to move the needle and get you forward.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, if you obviously, if you would like to work with a financial coach like Terry or Carol, Heba is going to be offering a special discount, and we have a resource guide too with more of those questions to help you get to your money mindset. So I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. That link's coming your way. But the thing that I would say is keep the momentum going, because it's a snowball effect. Once you start, it's not going to stop. And as women, when we do this together, there's no stopping us. Keep the momentum going.
I would just add that, it's not selfish to ask for help and to help yourself. In fact, actually, when you help yourself, then you're really able to help others. So as moms, that's something that we need to remember, that taking the time to get the help that we need makes us so much more powerful and so much stronger too for others.
And of course, I will end it with, again, be authentic, show up in your authenticity, be humble, walk in your own shoes, just show up, and just be you, and be who you are, love who you are, where you are. Foster wise decision making, constantly be a listener, listen before you make decisions. Don't jump to doing things, out of your heart or out of revenge or out of anger. Just always pause, prepare, practice, always.
Pause, prepare, practice. I know y'all heard that. Write that down. Amazing advice. Thank you so much, ladies of Willow, Sheila, Lacey, Carol, Terry. You guys have been amazing. It was so great to sit down with you on this Friday. Thank you for joining us and just dropping gems on gems. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this Unity Hour today. The YouTube link will be on our page. And then if you RSVP'd, you will also get it in your email. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
For having us. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.